workplace violence refers to injury, whether physical or emotional, that is sustained as a result directly arising from a person's place of work. An ideal work environment should be a place that, one, is safe, because people go to work to earn a living, but so injury should be minimized. So a safe working environment. Two, a flexible working environment. So we can speak about flexibility in terms of working hours, or flexibility in terms of management practices, whereby a worker is given time off, especially when they are facing difficulties. It can be during times of illness or during times of bereavement and so on. There should also be reasonable pay. It constitutes an ideal work environment. And I must say that an ideal work environment should also be a place that is friendly to the worker's mental health overall. Persons who are at risk at the workplace are generally people, and this is risk of violence. People who are at risk of violence at the workplace are persons who are in positions of less power in comparison to their workmates. So the most junior officers in an organization, such as interns, are the ones who are likely, or casual workers are the ones who are likely to suffer from violence at the workplace. Also, risk can be spoken of with regard to a person's working environment. So generally, some working environments are more risky than others. The police, for instance, people work in outpatient services, the firefighters, generally they are at greater risk. They are at greater risk because their environments are generally volatile in nature. And so, these groups, either in terms of the rank in the organization or in terms of the work itself. Okay, so violence can be perpetrated in three ways. It can be between the client and a person who is working. Using a common example of the hospital as a work environment, health workers often come across clients who are very agitated because their patients are unwell and they want to see the doctor. So you may find that because of that agitation, and because every workplace has its own rules, and hospitals operate within certain rules of, for example, triage, that we see the most sick patient first, not necessarily the person who came first. Since someone may not understand these rules, they may end up attacking they may attack the health worker. Also, we have cases where, for example, some of our clients are intoxicated, and they show up, they may attack, and many health workers have been attacked, though sometimes verbally. They face abuses and so on. And I believe that this sometimes is the case in many of the workplaces where a client attacks the worker. And unfortunately, many of the policies that we have, including even the Labor Relations Act, often many of the policies that we have around work, especially the HR policies, usually protect the client, because the client is always right. So at the end of the day, you find that the worker may not have much recourse in that type of violence. The second type of violence is whereby it includes, it includes a senior at the workplace and a junior within that work environment, and that is due to the power dynamics. So again, that is it commonly would be very difficult to address, because if it is a question of a person breaching boundaries, it is very difficult for a junior, for instance, to inform a senior not to contact them beyond work hours, for example, So it becomes a very difficult form of violence to solve. And number three is the violence between two workers who may be of equal ranking in the organization. Again, that can be quite common, and it can be complicated where it's not straightforward. Physical violence is straightforward, but when it comes to sexual violence, for example, which can involve a person sending unsolicited messages or making unsolicited phone calls to their colleagues, it can be very difficult to deal with, and itself it can cause a lot of discomfort and frustration in the victim. The effects of violence on an individual can be injury, if the direct physical injury, if the violence is physical, and this is itself dangerous, because around the world about over 400,000 people die every year because of violence. So some of this violence can turn fatal. But then we have also the mental aspect of the violence, the mental effects. So you find that people can suffer from conditions such as anxiety disorders, depression, and even increased substance use. But again, a person can suffer from post-traumatic stress disorder as a result of physical violence. The net effect of violence at the workplace will be decreased productivity of the worker. So you may find that this person now does not either come to work, or they come to work but the output is less than it would be. So the effect of violence to the organization is economical. So if workers are in a workplace where there is violence, physical, emotional, and sexual violence, their productivity will drop. So we'll have either presenteeism, they are present but working less; absenteeism, they don't come to work; or you lose your devoted and trained workers because they want to move to a safer working place. Okay, so strategies that can make workplace safer and enjoyable is for people, the policy makers or people who are in power within the companies and the board of directors, to have policies around issues that are as complex as abuse at the workplace. So let there be specific policies and specific channels that people can follow if they are to obtain justice in case they are abused. Number two, it's important that we have policies on mental health at every workplace. So a good workplace has, for instance, guidelines as to when someone has a mental illness, whom they should they speak to. Is there a professional whom they can speak to confidentially? Do we have tools where workers can screen themselves of mental illnesses? Is the working place welcoming if the person should take a break, for example, to go to a rehab for alcohol use disorder? If a person is to be admitted for bipolar mood disorder, will they be welcomed back to the workplace, or will they find now the place unbearable to work? So a good workplace should have principles around this, around the issues of mental health. And number three, a good working place should have avenues where members can team build. So team building itself reduces the power gap between different workers. So for instance, you can have games where the lowest ranked intern in the organization is the one supervising an activity in the field. And this is the beauty of team building activities. So by doing that, it puts them to be closer, in terms of power with the seniors, and therefore such events can make the workplace more friendly and reduce incidences of abuse. Employers can make the working environment safe for their employees by enacting progressive policies around the many complex issues that involve work. So in terms of pay and promotions, there should be policies where the workers do not have to down their tools and go to the streets for them to get promotions that is due to them. For example, the physical environment, and there should be audits, by occupational experts to ensure that the physical environment where people are working is a healthy environment. There's aeration, and there are no pollutants that can harm their health in the long term. There should be policies around mental health, as we have said, and we should also have flexibility in the working environment. We should tell everyone that anytime you are in a situation that is provoking, keep calm. Violence is not the answer.